Nowhere else in the world you find such a density on cutting dicks as in the Middle East, who pretend to be the most religious persons in the world, while at the same time not respecting that same creation and their various gods very much by cutting off a chunk of their dicks. Why they're in this region? Well, because these are the peoples nearest to our masters, the pharaohs, who practice this blasphemy towards the Creator, thus creating the perfect slaves. Now look at that. It's Pharaoh's Egypt right in the middle of it all. I made a 20-minute detailed medical and psychological analysis on this unholy practice on my channel Gure, but the entire channel was taken down a few days ago. So if anyone downloaded that, please upload it again, because I don't have it anymore. By the way, I have no problems at all with the cutting dick slaves, neither with Jews nor with Muslims. I'm just a white, non-slave, homeless, without a number, of whom the Muslims say that the white European man killed millions of Muslims, dropping bombs in Iraq, Afghanistan, Bosnia, Libya, Chechnya, etc. But wait a minute, I'm a homeless, and I don't pay any taxes to Pharaoh's army. But in fact, the millions of Muslims in Europe pay taxes to Pharaoh's army. And the Muslims of Europe pay for the guns, tanks, helicopters, and ammo, and pay for the death of their Muslim brethren far away. With the Muslims in Europe and their willingness to finance the wars against Islam, the costs of the anti-Islam wars are easily covered by the Muslims themselves. Because for the European Muslims, the choice between his fancy Mercedes or millions of murdered Muslims and their children is an easy one. He will choose his Mercedes, work, and pay the taxes. Well, anyway, it's easier to blame the white man and the Jews for it all, eh? But white man goes on the streets and refuses to pay taxes against war. I've never seen a Muslim do this. He'd rather have Muslim children killed than to give up his Mercedes. Me, Sean Ross, the white homeless South African, prefer poverty on the streets than have the death of a single Muslim child on my conscience, or any child at all. I tell you, my Muslim brothers and sisters, you sold your souls to the devil. And you can't even blame the white man for it, but only yourself. Dear people of this earth, don't believe pharaohs, popes, imams, rabbis, pastors, priests, etc., because they represent Pharaoh and the devil himself. It's the same with the wall around Israel, which in fact was built by the Palestinians themselves, when Pharaoh's state of Israel needed workers, physical labor, and the bricklayers to do the work. All Palestinians. As Pharaoh's Israeli authorities apparently couldn't find a single Jew to do the work. Here again, my Muslim brothers, you did it yourself, so stop blaming the rest of the world for the self-inflicted misery, because you, yourself, once again, you made the alliance with Pharaoh, the snake, and Shaitan. Just as the Islamic State, also called Daesh. The Islamic State is a caliphate with an emir as their religious leader. And both an emir and a caliph are aristocratic titles of pharaoh, like a duke, a count, or a marquis, and all cousins with each other, both the European nobility and the Arabic ones. So you can see they're one happy worldwide pharaonic family. See, Arab aristocrats, Asian ones, the Prince Charles, the Nazi Queen of the Netherlands, with his, is also from Nazi, just the Bilderberg king here. And so the Islamic ISIS, the same as the pharaonic goddess, is led by the Arabic nobility. based upon intel by the European nobility, like the Royal Tavistock Institute for Social Engineering, who analyzed that among young European Muslims there's this romantic idea of being a real man and warrior during those fantastic times of the Prophet. Instead of being harassed all the time by the cops in the outskirts or getting humiliated by some dumb white bitch secretary at some office of the authorities. So many good young Muslims full of hope took off for happiness, manhood, and some more sincerity than the West could ever offer. But instead of that, found themselves in some feudal dictatorship by the caliph, emir, and oriental nobility, giving all the orders. Go and slit those people's throats of the entire village. If not, we'll go to yours. While the raping, as usual, was only done by the feudal nobility and their sons, like caliphs, emirs, and the rest. Well, the usual nobility practice worldwide. Thus, back home in Europe, Pharaoh got rid of all the local young slaves with the seriously potential of insubordination towards Pharaoh's plans of a perfect human slave race, because a human being that is capable of dreaming is potentially very dangerous. Secondly, there was a geostrategical purpose for them in the Orient, petrol, because the Kurds in Kirkuk, Iraq, are sitting at one of the biggest oil reserves in the Middle East. And because there's too much international goodwill in favor of the Kurds being the victims of Saddam Hussein and the Turkish army, Pharaoh couldn't just send the NATO, as usual, or the Russian army there to bomb the hell out of the Kurds. So it needed another solution and a whole new international army. The Islamic State by the international aristocratic mafia of Pharaoh. And here again, third example of Muslims inflicting death and terror upon themselves, without any Jew nor any white man in sight. Now, do you want me to give you more examples? I could, you know. But well, why should I chew it all out for you? And then FuckTube taking down my channels and deleting hundreds of videos gone forever. I asked you to download them for years because I can't. I'm a homeless. Now they're gone and years of work for nothing. So you see, there is no JewTube at all, because I never attacked the Jews in my videos, but rather showed how the Nazi Templars of Pharaoh with their Swiss base were the ones behind the genocide on the Jews. With videos like Auschwitz made in Switzerland, Switzerland financed the Shoah, or Octagon rules over Pentagon, are now gone forever. Well, no Jew would have taken off those videos in their favor, eh? So there is no, and there never have been, any JewTube. I had at least 30 two-hour historical documentaries on there, on my channel, Gure, and a total of 350 videos, all gone now. I wanted it to be my present for humanity and my children, revealing the true enemy. But due to the selfish state of humanity and the lack of mutual brotherly or sisterly love for one another, helping each other out in rotten situation and acting in total collaborations, these videos are gone forever now, without our children's children in the inevitable total slavery of mankind being able to learn from them. Dear Muslims, the Jews and the white man are not your enemy. But you did a genocidal jihad with the Swiss Nazi Templars during World War II, with the two Muslim SS divisions, Hanshar and Skanderbeg, under Palestinian command of Jerusalem's Mufti Amin al-Husseini, butchering 500,000 Serbs, Jews and Gypsies in Europe. Because you listened to Pharaoh and the aristocratic imams For dear Muslims, you are your own worst enemy, having an alliance with Shaitan, Fir'aun, Pharaoh. Dear Muslims, living in Europe, it must be clear to you now that the white man is a slave, just like anyone else. And that Zionism is just a local problem around Jerusalem, because you Muslims have tried to exterminate all the Jews of Palestine during World War II, together with your German Nazi friends, and you nearly succeeded too. If not, my SAS regiment and its predecessor, the Long Range Desert Group, consisting of mostly New Zealanders and South Africans, had demolished the entire Luftwaffe Nazi Air Force in North Africa. Of your German pal, the arrogant General Rommel, who was too busy having himself celebrated in Berlin as the Desert Fox, where in fact the real Desert Foxes were a handful of Kiwis and Springboks. This is where the nickname Special Air Service comes from, a special service to the German Air Force, by entirely demolishing it with some jeeps behind the lines and lots of jerry cans with petrol for the long trip. Special Air Service. A service to the Germans, eh? It's quite cynical, the name, of course. Dear Muslims, this is why the Jews formed the paramilitary brigade called the Haganah, as a defense against the Palestinian extermination efforts on the Jews, for which the Palestinians got kicked out of Palestine. Oh, those poor Palestinians and their lies to the world of the Palestinian aggressors slipping into the victim's role. Utterly pathetic. I'm not a Jew, but a white South African, and I'm a friend of the Muslims. Therefore, I want to reveal to you who your real enemy is. Fir'aun. There it says in the Holy Quran that Pharaoh is the enemy, and I read the Quran. Just read it yourself instead of believing Pharaoh's imams like Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi and the rest of them with their religious hocus pocus. Well, at least I don't have to tell the white people anymore not to believe the Pope and their satanic pedophile priests anymore. So, dear Jews, do not believe the rabbis anymore, because they are the Erev Rav who deliberately lie to you together with the Judenrat, the Jewish council, leading you into the concentration camps. Butchery by Pharaoh's aristocracy, and not really by the German people. The Erev Rav Judenrat of Pharaoh persuaded you not to defend yourselves, because the Germans allegedly were such a lovely people of philosophers and great thinkers. Well, one problem though, these 1 million good German philosophers also ended up next to you in the concentration camps. End of story. So here you can see them together, the Judenrat guys working together with the Germans, with the Nazis, in the same goal, just collaborating. It's very simple, folks. If the Jews were the allegedly masters of the world, then why do they have to risk their necks themselves, like in the Haganah? Why would the Jews have to fight entire empires if they would be the empire themselves and even get called terrorists, like the Jewish Sicarii freedom fighters who killed Roman legionnaires in some dark alley in Jerusalem, like sticking a little curved oriental knife in his lower back into the kidneys, a Jew dagger called Sika. Therefore, the name of the assassins, thus leading to the culmination of Pharaoh's Roman terror on the entire Jewish population, who had withdrawn women and children hiding at the Masada Mountains, where the Roman Empire butchered them all. Just as they did with the Celts, with brave warrior leaders like Viriatus in Spain, Vercingetorix in France, and Boudica in England. until the Roman Empire got knocked out by the fiercest warrior nation on the entire planet, Germania. And I tell you, Rome, we'll do it again, you pharaonic creeps.